how you can more effectively speak to your audience rather than actually speak to yourself. Hello and welcome to another episode of Tactical Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking all about how to actually connect with your prospects, connect with your clients. Ideally, it's the little secret behind marketing that most people do not understand. And the reason they don't understand it is because most of the people I'm speaking about are absolute experts in their field. And so when it comes to selling expertise, when it comes to marketing expertise, a lot of the time the people that I'm working with are talking very much to themselves before they understand the nuance of how to do it more effectively. And so I'm going to get into the discussion today about how you can more effectively speak to your audience rather than actually speak to yourself. And I'm actually not talking about jargon and not talking about marketing jargon or your industry jargon or whatever it might be. In fact, in this scenario, it may actually make sense to use industry jargon where you may have heard the opposite before. So today we're going to be talking about how to really connect with your audience using language that is going to appeal to them most effectively. Now, recently I was speaking to it wasn't a client, it was just a person who was in business, and they were asking me some questions, and they were trying to look at how they can best launch into a market. They wanted to know how do they go ahead and actually get the most bang for their buck in the activities they're about to commence with. And they were thinking that they'd need to set up their program and have it all customized and have it all branded and have it all written up and all those different things before they launched. And my advice to that person was to not do any of those things. In fact, the build it and they will come method very rarely works. And the reason that is because if you're just starting out or you're just creating a new product or service, often you haven't actually put the program through the manual paces to understand what is the specific language you need to use to connect to your audience. So if you're wanting to productize, if you're wanting to automate it, if you do that before understanding the language that your customers are going to want to hear, then you're going to probably have a very poor launch, and actually it'll take you a long time to actually reconnect with that audience once again. So the first fire of the gun, the first shot out of the gun can actually be a really ineffective one, because if it misses, suddenly it scares off the audience, so to speak, right? So that was a weird analogy. Talk about shooting at the audience. Okay, so what I am talking about, though, is understanding what is the language that they're using. Now, to give you an example from the past, that there was a past industry I used to work a lot which was the construction industry. People selling to the construction industry, so construction services and products, things like that. And we discovered that when we went and spoke to those people, if we wanted to connect with them very quickly, we would simply ask a question right up early in the discussion, which was, are you doing more specifications or alternatives? Okay, now that is industry jargon for that construction products and services space. And so by using their industry jargon, we enabled ourselves to be seen as understanding of them, to be an authority in that space. Because we weren't talking about our jargon, we were talking about their jargon. And that's going to be the case with whoever your audience is. What is the language they use to describe themselves? What is the language they use to describe their problems? And I think that's a key, and it's one of the keys that I want to talk about today, is as experts, we understand that there are certain symptoms that people are suffering from, but it's not the symptoms that are the core issue. There is a specific problem. Now, if we start talking to the specific problem, there will be people who are not problem aware. They're going to be, no, I haven't got that issue. I've just got these symptoms. I remember early days when I had a coach try to engage me to do work with them. I said, I just want to stop procrastinating. And this is going back some time. I want to stop procrastinating. And they said, look, the problem is not the procrastination. It's what's the cause of the procrastination. And I'm like, no, the problem's procrastination. And so I instantly put up my guard and I pushed them away. Now, whether I'm right or wrong doesn't matter. I was the buyer in that scenario. I was ready to buy. And by them not identifying the problem I thought that I had, they bypassed that and I didn't feel heard. So here's the key. I'm actually going to pull the board over and we're going to do a very small amount of work to show you the steps and what to avoid and what specifically we want to talk to. Now, in the old days, and I think I've spoken to a few of you about this before, in the old days, and we're talking about what's the old days. I was talking to someone about the 80s. I was doing a little bit of work in the 80s, but really the 90s was when I actually came in. So in the 90s, and I'll put a little timeline actually. So in the 90s, it was all about solutions. If you were not the solution provider for the thing that you were offering, you were no one. So everyone's like, I have to have the solution for this and the solution for that, and we're the solution providers, right? So the 90s were what that was all about. Now, over time, as you go through this timeline, so we've got the 90s, we've got, I guess they're called the noughties, terrible name. We've got the 2010s, and then we've got the 2020s. As we go through this timeline, the buyer becomes more sophisticated. And so today, they are far more sophisticated than they have ever been. And so how do we go about connecting with their buying process rather than expecting them to fit into ours? Now, if you're a service provider, if you're just offering some product that's a consumable or something like that, then maybe you can get away with that sort of thing. But if you're coming in from an advisory position, you want your prospects, you want your clients to feel heard and to feel that you understand them, because it is going to be the fastest way for you to build trust. So in the 90s, it was all about solutions. By the time we got to the 2000s, everyone was talking about the sizzle. I know they've talked about that for a long time, but it was like, the solutions are boring. We want to talk about the sizzle. It's all about the sizzle, not the steak. And, I often say that it's very difficult to sell a steak with just the noise, because we really want to see, what is this thing that we're buying, right? And so that's why it progressed from just sizzle, random nonsense, to features and benefits. And the features and benefits in the 2010s was what everyone was talking about. So there would be 3 features, 3 benefits. I have a feature of a pen that has a lot of ink. Therefore, the benefit is will be able to write for longer. That's the sort of conversation. A lot of people are stuck back in those days. But again, the world's moved on. No one cares about features and benefits nearly as much as they care about outcomes. And outcomes are what it's all about. Right? And so we want to talk to outcomes, but not just outcomes. And so I just want to show you, if I want to keep outcomes as being the end step for where we want our prospect to go, so we'll put it in green. They have outcomes, and let me know if you can actually see the green pen. Maybe you can't see the green pen. I'd love to know. I'm going to put black over the top of it. So outcomes. Not that you can understand my writing anyway. I kind of write like a doctor. So, we're doing diagnostic here. So outcomes is what they want. Now, there are 4 different steps. There are symptoms that they're suffering from. Symptoms. And the symptoms are the things that they're aware of. Mr. Start came in at 6 minutes. That's right. All good. You can go back and watch it. So symptoms are what people come into your business for. There are things that are happening in your business, right? You're from a business that is about IT and technology. There are symptoms that they're suffering from. There are either concerns that they've got about things going wrong, or there are specific things like the slowing down of machines, all these different things that are happening. So these are symptoms that they're aware of. There are problems that are the cause of the symptom. Okay, so problems are causes, and there are some very passionate entrepreneurs out there. There's some passionate experts, and a lot of those people are really driven to fix the cause. Yeah, but people won't let you fix the cause unless they feel heard and understood at a symptomatic level. All right, so we need to be talking to their language, their symptoms, so that they will agree that yes, we should work together on this, and then we can help solve their problems. So we talk to symptoms, problems. Then after we identify the problems, we then usually define a solution. And the way we define a solution is through diagnostic, right? The doctor thing. So we know what the cause is. This solution's going to fix it to get them a specific outcome. But again, there are so many different ways that you can fix a problem. So most people do not care. They don't care. Everyone's stuck in this place where they're selling problems and solutions. Like, you have a problem and here's the solution. You have a problem, here's the solution. Now, at any time, maybe 2% of the market is solution aware, maybe maximum, 15, maybe 20% is aware of the problem, which means there's 80% of the market out there who are not aware of the specific problem and cause. They are, though, aware of the symptoms, and they do know what they want instead. So let's stop talking about this middle chunk. Let's stop talking about problems. Let's stop talking about solutions, and let's collaborate with the client to define the solution that they want. And at the end of the day, speak to symptoms and help people get outcomes. That is the fastest way to connect to your specific audience, is to understand very clearly the language that they're using to define their symptoms and what they want instead, which is usually just the opposite. I've got a pain in my leg. I want to be pain-free, right? I have slow IT machines. I want to have fast IT machines, right? Let me see. I'll come up with a whole nother example. So say bookkeeping, okay? So symptom of the bookkeeping. I don't know what's going on in my business financially, all right? So that's a symptom. Outcome is I'm clear about what's going on in my business, right? It doesn't need to be difficult, but it needs to be specific and in the language of your client. So the more niche you can get, the more specific you can get on the language, which means it's going to connect with, more specifically to those individuals. So if you work in a niche, if you work with tradespeople, what is the language that those tradespeople will use? Well, the tradespeople they weren't really tradespeople, they were more engineers in that construction space who were designing products for construction. we would talk about, the specifications and the alternatives, because at the end of the day, what they wanted is more specifications or alternatives. So what was the outcome they wanted? What was the symptom of what was going on? Well, it was that they weren't getting enough specifications, right? Not enough specifications, enough specifications. So the cause of why they're not getting the specifications could be anything from the sales team, the sales manager. Yeah, here's a good one, right? So let's say you're doing leadership training. You're going in to help a sales team get better, and all you can hear from the sales manager, who is the person who's going to make the decision, if not the director, is that my team are not working effectively. They're not selling effectively. They're not enthusiastic. And so the symptom is the team are the problem. But usually, though, that language is evidence that the manager is not being a good manager. Is the right move then to say to that manager, you need to improve what you're doing, or is the right move, let's see how we can improve the team? The right move is how we can improve the team, because it's a starting point which allows you to then connect with the manager in a way that understands how you're going to help them manage better. Yeah? So until you're in the project, there's no point in actually talking about the cause, because you don't have enough information to diagnose it. Yeah? So there's a whole bunch of people thinking that they know what is the best answer because they're absolute experts, and they can probably see 80% of the time they do have the right answer, which means that 20% of the time they are wrong. Now we know that all 63.5% all stats, 63.5% of all stats are made up on the spot. So, we're going with a grain of salt on that. But here's the key for today. Be clear about the symptoms that your clients talk about, the symptoms that they recognize, the symptoms they're aware of. And then flip that to talk about the outcomes. But you've got to confirm it. It sounds like you don't have enough of the specifications that you want. Is that correct? Yes, it is. And it sounds like you want more. Like, how many more do you want? All right, this is how many I want. You get confirmation through the process, but it gives you so much opportunity to engage in a conversation, which allows you to get more sales. And that's what today is all about, how to connect with people. Stop talking about yourself. No one cares about your solutions. No one cares about the specific cause that you're so good at identifying. They only care about that once they've chosen to work with you. So look at the symptoms, get very clear about that, step into a diagnostic step, get hired to do that. Don't be doing that for free. There is so much value in your diagnostic. There is so much value in your strategy. If you're having problems selling that strategy, come and talk to me, because that's where the value is. It's in the strategic work, and we're going to then help people get to the outcomes. And that's what advisory is all about. It's not about telling people here's some advice and go and implement it. It is about helping design a plan that helps them get the outcomes that they desire. If you're watching this on the Future Proof group, I'd love you to comment on it. Let me know if you're watching this in replay, if you're watching this live, if you've got any questions, put them in here. I will come back here and answer any questions you have about what we just talked about today. If you aren't already, you might want to go and have a look at YouTube. You can just look for Russell Pearson. That's SSL. That's the way you're supposed to spell Russell. To find my channel, I put stuff up there weekly, if not multiple times a week. And so you can subscribe to that. And we've also got Your Consulting Business podcast, which you can find on Apple or any of the great podcasting platforms out there. Great to see you, Christian. And good to see you, Di. Good to see all the people who are live on the call. Until next time, my name's Russell Pearson. Stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.